There we go. Let's get started. Another Geek Year in Queer, 2019. So last year we started this series of panels and we kind of covered everything. And now we're kind of doing it year by year. So let's talk about the last 12 months.
Yeah, so basically from last Comic-Con to this Comic-Con. So first, who are we?
Well, technically my name is Stephanie, but online I go by the moniker Angel. I'm the admin for the pop culture website, The Geek I have a BA in film digital media. If you want to find me on Twitter, that is my Twitter handle, where I mostly just scream and rant about stuff. It's fun, follow me.
Okay, and I'm Dee Dee, but I go by Shizu online. I'm a fan artist, I'm a cosplayer, I'm a college student. I don't really have credentials except that I've been doing panels for a couple of years, so...
And look, there we are doing a panel.
And there we are doing a panel.
Oh my God.
That's our Yuri on Ice panel. So yeah, like, you don't need to be like a professional to do panels, you just gotta...
Clearly, look at us.
Yeah.
Alright.
Just gotta do a lot of research.
Let's do that.
Okay, so let's start off with anime and manga. So one of my personal favorites that came out, I think in 2016, but it just got its English release, Shimanami Tasogare, which is Our Dreams at Dusk. I think this is the only mangaka possibly ever who's openly non-binary. So Yuki Kamatani identifies, they use they, them pronouns. They identify as ex-gender and asexual. And the cast of this manga, it's basically about a group of queer people trying to find like acceptance with one another. So it includes gay high schoolers, a child trans girl, a young adult trans man, a young adult lesbian couple, an elderly gay couple, and an asexual woman. And all of these characters are actually relevant to the plot. They're not just like, it's not like, oh, the asexual woman's in the background. It's like, no, they all contribute to the storyline, and they all have kind of their own story arcs. So it's a really good manga. I highly suggest reading it. The only thing is the first chapter does have someone is kind of outed, and then there's a suicide attempt. So I would warn...
Trigger warnings there.
Trigger warning. So there is that content, but nothing does really bad really happens in terms of like, well, you gotta read it, but nothing...
Read it with
nothing
trigger
really,
warning in mind, basically.
Yeah. So trigger warning in mind. And then next we want to highlight a studio who has done a lot in the past few years for...
Studio MAPPA!
So, this...
If you know our content, you know we're obsessed with Yuri on Ice, and we keep having panels thinking, okay, this will be the last panel before Ice Adolescence comes out. And this is like our third or fourth panel where it still hasn't come out.
It's supposed to come out this year. The running joke is that it's going to come out on December 31st at 11:59 p.m.
So that it's technically in 2019. So hopefully before next Kawaii-Con, and this will be our last Yuri on Ice anticipation panel.
But if you guys don't know, Yuri on Ice, it's about figure skating, and it kind of... I want to do a little play on words and say made history in terms of it's not marketed as a BL anime, but it did have an on-screen kiss between two male characters. However, the kiss was censored by an arm, so some people are like, oh, it was actually a hug, and oh, when they're exchanging promise rings, that's just
a good luck charm.
Good luck charm. That's not
it's
gay.
An engagement ring. But anyway.
Yes.
Right.
So, we're hoping for that. But other than this, in the last year, Studio MAPPA has done Banana Fish. So for those of you who haven't heard of Banana Fish, it originally ran from 1985 to 1994 in a shoujo magazine. And it is considered to have redefined the shoujo genre because not only is it BL, but the basic plot is that it's about a reporter from Japan investigating gang activity in New York City.
So that shoujo.
That doesn't sound like shoujo, but it is.
For those that don't know, shoujo is like
shoujo's like
girl,
flowers,
like,
romance.
You know, aimed genre is how it's defined. That's technically what shoujo means. So flowers and pretty sparkles, but gang drama.
Gang drama, violence, yeah. So this is the second on-screen kiss between two men that the studio has done, with the first being Yuri on Ice. And it is the first uncensored kiss. So the joke that some Yuri on Ice fans make is that Yuri on Ice walked so that Banana Fish could run. And so these two characters, Ash and Edgy, they're in love with each other. And just a warning, because it is about gang activity, it's not a very happy ending. So, yeah. But it is a good series, and if you're interested in something like a little bit different than the typical shoujo, I'd say give it a watch. And also just be aware that it is violent. Okay, and then our last thing from Studio MAPPA, they did a series called Sarazanmai, which just finished airing, I think, earlier this summer. So the director, creator, and writer is Kunihiko Ikuhara.
Yes. Sorry, I met him as a kid because I'm a big fan of Utena, so...
Yes, and he directed Revolutionary Girl Utena, which, if you guys have seen that, you know it is hella gay. Utena is totally bisexual.
That was basically the show that, like, made me realize I was queer, so... If you haven't seen it, it's part of, like, queer anime history, so go watch. It's dated, though. It's, like, very 90s, early 2000s.
Very 90s. But, yeah, so Ikuni, this is one of his other babies, his other projects that he did. There are 3 confirmed queer characters in here. Enta, who is that boy at the top kissing the sleeping boy who is cross-dressing. There's a lot to unpack there, but basically he has a crush on his best friend. And also don't do that because consent is important. And then he also co-wrote a spin-off manga about the 2 cop characters who are in the show, Reo and Mabu. And it's about them adopting a baby girl and raising her as her dad, as her dads is specifically what they call them. So, and in the series, it is, I don't want to give away too much spoilers, but they do confirm that they are in love with each other. And if you watch the Japanese version, I think it's Reo specifically says that they're a couple. In the English version, I think they took that out for some reason in the English dub. I don't know why, but...
Yeah, basically. Oh, dubbing.
But yeah, they took it out for God knows what reason.
Netflix recently did that with...
I should have included that.
Yeah, I know, we showed
with Evangelion.
If
you guys haven't heard about Netflix's...
Where they straight washed that. But we don't have a slide on that, so I guess let's not get sidetracked. But that's a thing that happened.
Yeah. And then, okay, so next category, movies. So, first of all, Rocket Man, if you guys didn't know that this came out, it's Elton John's biopic, basically. And unlike another recent biopic that I'm not going to name, it doesn't erase his sexuality. There is actually a scene where I believe he's on the phone with his mom and he kind of comes out to her, and it's actually really nice because she's like very accepting of him, and she's like, oh, I know, but it's okay, I still love you, and all that. And it's the first major Hollywood film to include a gay male sex scene. So there's that. It's not a completely accurate story, but it is campy and it is fun as heck. So
yeah, I think even it was intentionally inaccurate. Like Elton John basically said, like if you need to take liberties to make a better story, go.
Yeah.
That's very on brand for Elton John.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
And then the rest of the movies are basically just going to be...
Lots to talk about when it comes to Marvel. We had our first canon queer character in MCU, played by Joe Russo.
How many of you have heard of this?
Yeah.
I was in the movie. I was in the theater opening day.
Yeah, me too. I got the little collector's cup thing. But, yeah, so... It's kind of controversial because it's on screen for less than a minute. This character casually mentions dating a guy. Most people didn't even notice. Like, they get home, they looked online, and they're like, what? There was a queer character in Endgame? Where? You're right. Like, you had to... And so people, like, took little screenshots of it, and, like, it happened here, and they're like, when? But, yeah, so a lot of queer fans kind of feel let down by it because it was hyped up by some websites as, ooh, the first MCU queer character.
Some websites were even calling it, the first MCU queer hero, which was like, that's
definitely not a hero. Like, he's just a guy.
In terms of the movie, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has already had like one confirmed queer character and one like not all but spelled out.
Yeah. So it's a weird thing, but Kevin Feige had this interesting quote, which doesn't necessarily fix the problem, but I kind of can see where he's trying to come from. Of course, he's a straight man, so he doesn't necessarily understand the nuances of it. But anyway, this is his quote. That was never meant to be our first focused gay character. That was just meant to be a matter of fact and a matter of life and a matter of truth. And I liked it that our hero, Steve Rogers, doesn't blink an eye at the fact. It's just a truth, and it's heartbreaking for his loss and for the life he's trying to put back together. It was never meant to be looked at as our first gay hero. So again, that doesn't necessarily fix it, but I can kind of see where they're coming from. Like, they get a "you tried" star, I guess. Like, you tried.
I think the problem was that it was the hype. Like, all of the people involved with the movie who were hyping this scene up, they really shouldn't have been doing that. They should have just left it.
Yeah.
Like, and just
let it go.
I was sort of in the camp where I didn't even know about the hype.
Yeah.
I was trying to avoid all endgame spoilers because I didn't want to spoil anything for me. So I didn't even know that there was that hype until after I had seen it. And I'm like, oh, there's a gay character in a smart group. Okay. And then I moved on. So I didn't even know that was an issue until after I'd seen the movie.
Yeah.
And then I heard about it. I think it was actually from you a week ago.
Yeah. And yeah.
Okay, we do have some more MCU stuff to talk about too.
So
Oh.
not exactly canon, but
Yeah, it's shipping, yes, and also undertones, which are not canon, but definitely worth talking about. Like, it's queer-coded, I guess you can say. So they don't get canon points, but worth talking about. They were best friends, they were together all the time, they literally lived together and basically raised a daughter together.
And then one theory I found online, and I'm really sorry because I'm not sure who originally came up with this theory, but it was that both Carol and Maria, during the 1990s in the U.S. Air Force, there was the "don't ask, don't tell" was in effect. So that might not have been what the intention was with the movie, but somebody pointed out, they wouldn't have been able to talk about if they were in a relationship because of "don't ask, don't tell." So that's kind of like, it's like a fan interpretation,
Yeah.
And also the fact that she doesn't end up with any love interest.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Kind of adds fuel to it.
but right.
And I love that.
It would probably be brushed, the undertones would probably just be brushed aside if she kissed Nick Fury.
Oh yeah, because
that'd
as
be
soon,
weird.
and that's a problem with bisexual representation, as
Right.
soon as someone's paired with the opposite sex, suddenly they're straight.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, bisexuality is a thing. But yes, you're absolutely right. Like, it would have kind of nullified all the undertones.
Although I did see some people speculating from his portrayal across the movies that Nick Fury might be asexual.
I love that theory. Let's stick to that.
I love anything your headcanons,
It's the thing, because the argument was he's never shown expressing any kind of interest in any of his having any kind of romantic undertones with any of his underlings, whether it be queer or straight, and
I love it.
Yeah.
and it's like the dishwashing scene in Captain Marvel where you'd expect the obligatory release of the sexual tension with tension moment is just played purely strictly platonic.
Yeah. I love that interpretation, and I hadn't heard it before, but I'm sticking to it, so thank you for the new interpretation and headcanon.
And now let's move on to actual.
Yes!
Oh yes, the gift's working. Okay.
Yes! She has
All
a
right.
thing for Valkyrie with the cannon.
I'm
so.
like,
Beautiful.
it's just, as someone who's attracted to all genders, I see this and I'm just like, I'm attracted to this scene in Ragnarok, with her with the cannon.
I
I'm
just love
like,
Tessa Thompson in anything, but now we're gonna
In
get
anything,
sidetracked by
Okay.
worshiping Tessa Thompson.
Okay. So, do you want to cover this
So
since you were in
I
the
was
room?
in the room for this quote. So Tessa Thompson at Comic-Con 2019, right after they announced Thor: God of Thunder, said, first of all, as king, she needs to find her queen. Now, I was in the room when this happened, live tweeting, but I thought I didn't hear that right. I'm like, that didn't just happen. I wasn't just in the room for that. So I didn't tweet it. And no one around me seemed to react. So I'm like, okay. And then after the panel, I checked it out online, and she absolutely said that. So Valkyrie confirmed queer character. Amazing.
And then, shoot, how do you say his name?
Kevin Feige, I believe.
Kevin. So Marvel Studios president. I'm not even gonna try. So he confirmed Valkyrie will be explicitly part of the LGBTQ plus community in Thor: Love and Thunder, and plus you've got Taika Waititi directing. So those of you who know his stuff, he's definitely gonna run with
Clear
that
this
idea.
up, yes.
He is. He's gonna make it so gay. And
You want camp, Taika is your guy. I mean, he did the last Thor, and that was, even though there wasn't canon, like, queerness in it technically, or there was, like, parts that got cut out, but it's camp, wall to wall, and I adore it.
Yeah, it's just a fun movie. And then also, he confirmed there is an LGBTQ plus character in The Eternals, which is coming out in, I want to say 2021.
It's currently my Facebook header that has
Yes.
all of the movies coming out, so let me just open up my Facebook header and take a look. Eternals, view header, view profile cover. Let me zoom in here. It's a picture I took, by the way, at San Diego Comic-Con. Eternals is in November of 2020.
2020, okay.
Yeah.
So sooner than I thought. Okay.
Very soon. And
yeah.
now, this doesn't have to do with queer representation, but a really cool thing about the Eternals is there was a white character in the comics, a white man, who is now going to be a black deaf woman played by an actual black deaf actress. So, not queer representation, but you know, it's representation that's good. So the Eternals is going to be great all around, I think. Yes?
You're being violent when you say things.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Representation of any marginalized communities, really, it's...
So even if it's not on the topic of this panel, it's fantastic that,
Yes.
you know, they're going to have lots of different types of characters in the Eternals.
So Marvel is making some good progress
Yay,
moving
Marvel!
forward. So, TV and streaming, so we're going to talk about animated, so cartoons first. So this happened immediately after our panel. Yeah, I think the same weekend.
Yeah,
as
last
year's
year,
panel.
if you were there at our panel, we're like, Voltron has queer representation, it's amazing! And then, like, it happened, and everything changed, like, a week later. Now, there's two sides of this party. I don't watch Voltron, so I don't technically have a horse in this race. But, side one, they made a character queer, but quickly killed the partner. They gave us representation just to give us an example of the bury your gays trope, which bury your gays trope, which some of you might be kind of familiar with, is basically, here's your queer representation, now they're dead. And that happens a lot. There's a huge growing list of characters. And also another criticism of it is that they partnered the other half of a popular ship off with someone else. However, there is another side to this. That representation is important, period. Like, characters die, you know, barrier gays, you know, but everybody dies, etc. And we got some representation. And also, people don't want the queer representation to just be about one particular ship. They just want, like, either they ship the other thing, or they just don't like shipping in general, or they don't like that ship. Shouldn't be about ships, it's about the representation. So those are the two warring factions right now. And I don't have a horse in this race, and I do have friends on both sides.
Yeah, and I don't think either side is wrong. It's just, it's a matter of difference of opinions and viewpoints.
My only horse I have in this race is that I truly hate the bury your gays trope with a fiery passion, so that makes me lean towards that side slightly more, but yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so I have watched the show and I have kind of followed all of it. So like basically with the characters they made queer, like they were basically, there was a lot of like behind the scenes back and forth between the production crew wanting to make him queer and the corporate overlords not wanting to let them. And they literally got like the go ahead to make him queer the day before the season dropped. So they had like and so it's like they had like and so it's like originally like his partner, like the character who was gonna be like wasn't even gonna be like his like partner but like his ex.
Yeah.
Like and it's like and so it's like and so like there was a hetero version of the scene and a queer version, but it's like the queer version of the scene, it was clearly a breakup scene, and so it's like but it's like marketing overhyped him as like, oh, it's a boyfriend, and so we're gonna be in season 7. And it's like marketing made the X more hyped, seemed more important than he actually was, and so that got fans' expectations up high.
Right. That's the same problem that we had with the Marvel's first queer character.
And it's like, although it's like at the same time, it's like the production crew at like Compound and stuff never made him out to be more than the guy with the X actually more than the X. And it's like it was entirely on like Netflix and DreamWorks marketing for who basically.
Yeah, because at San Diego Comic-Con last year, it was the marketing point of the season, and that's why last year's panel, it was like, celebration, like, yay, and then,
Netflix and like the DreamWorks and like the official social media accounts like hyped it up like the production crew were just like, he's just his X.
Yeah.
So
Thanks for that,
we gotta move on
background,
to
though.
keep on schedule.
For sure, though.
Okay.
Next. Oh, yours. Yeah.
Adventure Time finale. So I am sorry, but this is going to be mild spoilers, but I really wanted to show this.
Mercy? You're okay! My armor has an emergency. You scared me. What? Even back when we weren't talking, I was so afraid something bad would happen to you, and I wouldn't be there to protect you, and I don't want to lose you again. Hey, I'm a tough gum. Nothing never happened to me. Never. I know, Girl, you phrase that so weird. I might have a concussion.
Yes! And then...
Dun, dun, dun.
And then if you want to know what happens, you gotta watch it.
Yeah.
But, oh wait, no. Next slide. So, Bubbling is canon, yay! And they showed the kiss on TV, yay! And a lot of parents were, the homophobic parents were angry, but whatever. We don't care about that. So, it's canon. Took them till the end of the series, but, I mean, they made it canon, so...
So thank you.
I'm happy. But, yeah, and then we've got... She-Ra, which is so queer.
Season actually dropped on Friday.
Yeah, we haven't had time to watch
we haven't updated this yet. So She-Ra reboot from DreamWorks. For those of you who don't know, She-Ra was like this series in the 80s. She's He-Man's brother. But they made a kind of new show marketed towards young girls. And the creator, director, and showrunner, Noelle Stevenson, she is openly queer. She is engaged. I am not sure what gender her partner identifies as, but I do know her partner is also queer. So there's a lot of queer undertones, and many people who work on the show are also queer, animators, writers. So there's 3 seasons out now. And I think they have, don't quote me on this, but I think they do have in their contract another season coming out. And
It was actually, I heard they have like 52 episodes at least.
oh, okay. So that's
it's
like at least
4 13 episode arcs, and it's like season 2 and 3 are like 1 13 episode arc plus like
Okay, so
they're like halfway through like their what they have.
So at
Yeah,
least another
so-
26 episodes
Yeah.
divided into how many seasons they want to
Yeah.
do that.
So season 1 introduces a lesbian couple. So you can see them kind of in the lower left corner, Spinnerella and Natasha. And they're reoccurring characters. They're not exactly main characters, they're more supporting characters, but they're there and they call each other darling, and they're always holding each other and holding hands and locking arms, and it's really cute. And then a little bit more explicit in queer content, season 2 has a gay relationship. I don't want to go into too much detail because it's a little bit of a spoiler, but there is a gay MLM couple in the last episode of season 2, and they're featured very heavily in that episode. It's just, you guys gotta watch this show. It's so good. But yeah, great representation from this show. And also, that's not even mentioning the queer undertones, like people are shipping like She-Ra and Catra, or Catra and Scorpia, or like there's so many ships, so many possibilities. Okay, so Steven Universe gave us this.
Hey, I'm Savon. Let's talk about social media. This is my page. I love posing for selfies. But social media can be about more than how you look. It can be about who you are, your skills, focus, your adventures. You'll never believe what happens. I also follow lots of different people on accounts. I like to get inspired and catch up with friends. Hold up. Hey, this isn't right. The truth is, I made my page just for this. I'm not on social media. You know why? It's overwhelming. There are tons of people worried about how they look on here, and it's like, who cares? Besides, I don't need followers or likes to feel good about myself. I know I'm amazing. Good luck, Space Money. Good luck at the shoot. You're a natural. That'd be great. There is some positivity out here if you know where to look. Maybe I'll use it carefully.
Yep, so we got that commercial, and if you guys didn't, oops, sorry. Computer, why do you do this? Okay, so if you guys didn't catch that, on Stevani's Instagram, it says, I am an experience, intersex, non-binary, they, them. And when I saw this commercial, I was like, oh my god, I've never seen, like, intersex representation in I don't even think in a kid's show. Like, Stevani was kind of intersex representation, but they didn't make it explicit until this commercial.
Yeah, and if you don't know the show very well, basically, Stevani is a fusion. This show, characters confused together, is a fusion of one of the main characters, Steven, and
his love interest, kind of, slash friend, Connie.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But the creator, Rebecca Sugar, she identifies as a bisexual, non-binary woman. I'm going to be honest, I don't know what non-binary woman means, but if that's how she wants to identify, then, that's how she identifies. So Stevani is intersex non-binary, confirmed. There was also the Diamond Days arc that came out around last December, January. And that I want to just briefly talk about. So in that arc, Steven kind of, okay, so this is mild spoilers, I'm really sorry, but so Steven's mom was Pink Diamond, and he goes and he meets the other diamonds on Homeworld, but when they're talking to him, they're constantly calling him Pink Diamond, and they're using female pronouns for him, and a lot of people have compared kind of this arc to sort of a metaphor for being trans, because it's like, they're dead naming you, they're using the wrong pronouns, and eventually one of the diamonds goes and actually says to another diamond, when she starts to kind of get closer to Steven, she goes, no, she prefers to be called Steven now. So it's like she still didn't get the pronouns right, but she's like trying, and eventually they do start acknowledging him that he is Steven, he's not Pink Diamond anymore. So I've seen some people in the trans community kind of say, like, they really like this as a metaphor. So I think that's really nice that they can see themselves that way. And then we also had a movie announced at San Diego Comic-Con. We don't know what's going to be in it, but considering what's been in this show, probably something gay.
Highly likely.
Yeah. Then we've got
TV
live action. So
Queer Eye season 3 and 4 and 5. So I have not had a chance to watch 3 or 4,
I haven't
4
watched
yet.
4 yet.
Because it came out while I was at other Comic-Con. And then it was renewed for season 5 very recently as well. And everyone should watch, because it's a really good, feel-good show, and it's just amazing.
And they're not just making over, like, these, like, guys anymore. They're making over, like, all kinds of people. Like, my personal favorite is, there was this girl, Jessica. She is a black lesbian woman, and they gave her a makeover, and it's just like, it's so nice that they're just they're not just focusing on like stereotypical guys who are like, oh, I can't cook or dress myself. It's like, no, it's like all kinds of people. Like, there are these 2 women who were sisters and business owners, and then there was the Jessica, the black lesbian woman. They did a trans man in, I think it was season 1 or 2. Can't really remember, but actually, it's kind of cool because I think, what was his name? Skylar. He's friends with Jessica, and like I follow them on Instagram, and it's really cute that they're like all friends with each other.
And also, Jonathan Van Ness very recently came out as non-binary, and still uses male pronouns, but is fine with all pronouns, is what he says. So that's awesome too. So I love the show, guys.
It's so wholesome. It's like if you want something like a feel-good show to watch, this is a really feel-good show. Although it might make you cry.
Oh yeah.
Because it does get very emotional.
But good tears.
Yes. Then
9-9.
9-9.
Excuse me, do you have a less crinkly dollar I could trade you for?
Of course I do. None of my dollars has a single crinkle. When they do, I steam them.
Oh. Wow, that is crisp.
Can't wait to get this baby home and flatten it out. Almonds, nice choice.
Oh, thanks. They're drafted in for my girlfriend, Detective Diaz.
Oh, you must be Jocelyn.
What? No, I'm Denise. Here's Jocelyn. Is Rosa cheating on me?
Oh, my.
No, that was a joke. I'm sorry. I thought it would be funny. I am Jocelyn.
Oh. I didn't know what was happening, and then I thought I knew what was happening, but what I thought I knew was happening wasn't what was happening. It's pretty good.
You must be Captain Holt.
Hey, can you give us a second there?
Yeah, I'll wait out there. Pleasure meeting you, Captain.
So, this is Jocelyn.
I'm glad you got to meet her. For the record, I wasn't keeping her from you because I was afraid you were going to hurt her feelings by being judgy. I think it's hilarious when you're judgy. It's because I was afraid you weren't going to like her. You and I are close, and I value your opinion.
Well, she seems great in our limited interaction.
Maybe you could get to know her better over Kevin's rice this weekend.
That would be great. You might want to save your girlfriend. She's talking to Hitchcock.
Damn it!
Yeah, so Brooklyn Nine-Nine was, I think it did get canceled, right? And then
It got canceled and then came back. So yay, it was resurrected from the dead. But it's got a lot of great representation. Captain Holt, gay, has a husband. Rosa Diaz, bisexual, and now has a girlfriend. And it's hilarious, guys. Just go watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's worth it.
Okay.
You keep doing it.
Computer, why?
The Magicians. Okay, this one's another controversial one, kind of like Voltron, because there's warring sides of this. So they made the main character bisexual and the main same-sex ship canon. Yay! And then sorry, spoiler, they killed the main character almost immediately, once again falling into the bury your gays trope. Boo. So this is another one of those ones where it's like, yay, representation, but then the bury your gays trope, which I absolutely hate. So, but apparently some people who have watched it liked how it was done. I've only seen the first 2 seasons, so I can't comment on that myself, but some people that I trust with their opinions were not as offended as I feel like they could have been, so maybe it wasn't that bad. But again, not first-hand experience, so I don't know. Yeah.
Then getting back to the show. So it's very, very likely that the main character won't come back. And they did announce there'll be another season, so
Right.
more than likely, come back.
I don't know. I think the actor wants to move on. So, but I don't know.
And there's always a chance, they could have like different characters representing too.
I mean, why am I forgetting his name? But the other character has been bisexual since season 1, so there's always been representation, but it's just, same thing with Voltron. You have something presented and then ripped away. So that is the barrier gay trope right there.
And then a little bit of a happier note. Well, kind of roller coaster.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster.
Okay, so opposite roller coaster. One Day at a Time on Netflix, and I'm gonna say I was part of the problem because I haven't watched this yet. So it's a reimagining of this sitcom that kind of aired in the 70s and 80s, but instead of a white family, it's with a Cuban American family, and it includes issues like mental illness, immigration, sexism, homophobia, and racism. And the daughter, Elena, who is on the left side of that poster, in the show, she is a lesbian, and she is dating a non-binary character named Sid. And it was canceled by Netflix in March of this year after 3 seasons. But it was picked up by CBS to air on their Pop TV network starting in 2020.
Yay.
And they have the licensing for the previous 3 seasons, so they can basically show everything plus the new stuff which is great. And I believe the 3 seasons will still be on Netflix. So
Roller coaster of emotions there.
so, roller coaster of emotions. So I'm sad Netflix canceled it, but it'll be slightly more accessible, kind of. Depends on if you have cable, but at least it's not permanently canceled.
Good Omens. Oh my god. Okay, so I'm obsessed with Good Omens, and that's why this slide is such a mess. But Neil Gaiman has confirmed repeatedly on Twitter that they are in love, but he avoids the labels, which angers some people because they want a label to it, but he avoids it because they're supernatural beings and he doesn't want to assign genders to them. Like Crowley is shown over and over again to be able to go back and forth between genders, so he doesn't label it. Michael Sheen played the characters as in love. Like, he has said that is how he played Aziraphale. And in interviews, Michael Sheen and David Tennant discuss the characters' love for each other openly. Like, it's a thing. Like, they're openly discussing it. And then you even have the line from the book. Many people, meeting Aziraphale for the first time, formed 3 impressions: that he was English, that he was intelligent, and that he was gayer than a tree full of monkeys on nitrous oxide.
That's how I want to be described.
Read the book, guys. It's so amazing. But the book has a lot of queer undertones, and then the show just turned it up, and all these interviews with the cast and Neil Gaiman and everything is just all over the place, amazingly queer and delightful. Also, Michael Sheen reads fanfic. He also tweets fan art and other queer content from fans. Like, it's delightful. Thank you, Michael Sheen. And side note, this is me just bragging a little bit, and I fully admit that, but Neil Gaiman tweeted an article I wrote where I discussed the ship, and he said he was amused by it, which some people might think that that's snarky and offensive, but I'm just glad that someone that has amused me for so many years with his writing was amused by something I wrote. And I talk about the ship very heavily in my article, and he read it and decided to share it with his 2 million followers on Twitter, so I have a lot of feelings about that. But yeah, I just included some tweets of the stuff that I talked about, and this is my new obsession, so if you follow me on Twitter, you're gonna see lots of this, all over the place.
But yeah, and then that lower left, Neil Gaiman actually said on Tumblr when he was answering a question, he said, "And I wrote Aziraphale and Crowley as a love story." So it's not computer stop
Computer. Okay.
Okay. So it's confirmed, it's canon. It's not
just
labeled, but it's canon,
yeah.
And it's beautiful.
That's
And
quite
you guys,
a metaphor.
yeah, gayer than a tree full of monkeys on nitrous. I would be so happy if someone described me that way. I would be so flattered.
I love it.
Okay, and then
Stranger Things. The new character Robin, who I absolutely adore. She is a lesbian, and also I saw Robin walking through this panel a few moments ago. I was sad she is not here for that because I was going to point at her. But also Will Byers, who is basically the character that kicked off the entire story with his disappearance in season 1, and it's been speculated since season 1 that he was some sort of queer identity, was confirmed that he doesn't like girls. Again, no label. It could be he's gay, it could be he's asexual, we really don't know, but he doesn't like girls, so some not heteronormative label for him, but he's a young kid, so he'll figure it out. So this season was pretty great for the representation.
Pretty great overall, in general.
yeah, I haven't watched the show yet, but I need to watch it.
Me
There
too.
are so many things in
It's
here
so
I need to
good.
watch.
My mom and I are halfway through season 2.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, we kind of spoiled you on Robin, because her...
I already
Okay.
swallowed all that.
'Cause- Yeah, her coming out was a big, huge thing in the show. You'll see when you get there. But each season of this show I've watched in a single day. So, the day it came out. So I'm really obsessed with it.
So Western comics, I'm going to apologize because this section is mostly just things I have read because neither of us are super into comics. So
I'm mostly a
it's
manga
mostly
person,
just stuff that I have read. So first of all, A Quick and Easy Guide to Queer and Trans Identities. This is a book, part of a series published it's basically a series called A Quick and Easy Guide to blank, and then they just fill in the blank. So there's this one, and then there's also a quick and easy guide to they them pronouns, which I haven't read yet, but that is definitely the next comic I'm buying. So it's written by two queer individuals, Maddie G and J.R. Zuckerberg, who are graduates of the Pratt Institute, which those of you who don't know, I previously attended before I dropped out of art school, because art school is hard. So they met at Pratt, which is definitely a very big, it's big on the queer community, but the story, it's basically a story, and it's mainly explained by these little cartoon snails. And this one snail is like the pet of this non-binary mentor to a group of queer teens. And the snail is teaching the other snails about what it means to be queer and what it means to be trans. And so the reason they chose snails is snails are inherently genderless. So, you can't assign gender to a snail. And there's also these other creatures called sproutlings, who are also kind of, rather than genderless, it's more like there's so many different genders of them. And then there's also just characters who are explaining like their own experiences based on real people's experiences. So human characters. And I put it's easy for all ages to learn more about LGBTQ plus identities. However, I will mention that if you do want to show this to a child, there is some brief mentions of sex. So
Make your own parental
make your own
about
choice about if the child is mature enough to read that type of thing. But there's chapters kind of in general, like what the word queer means, like the history of it, which is what this comic on the side says, and it explains. Some people use queer as a label, but because it's kind of reclaimed the slur, but other people, don't like to use it as a label. And as this says, even so, many people still choose not to use it because of its history of derogatory use, and that's okay too. Self-identification is just flexible like that. So, it's a very open and welcoming book. And there's chapters on like the ACE spectrum, gender identity, gender representation, how to recognize an abusive relationship, all kinds of stuff. And it's just really good at promoting healthy queer relationships and explaining how to explore your gender and how to support people who are exploring their gender or sexuality. And it's just, I really like this book, guys. It's so pretty, and it's so just nicely drawn and nicely written. And I highly suggest, if you have someone in your life who's like, they don't understand what queer or trans means and they genuinely want to understand, maybe go to a library and borrow this book for them, or get them this book as a gift and just say, hey, here, you can read about this book is a good explanation, kind of a general overview about the queer and trans community. So yeah. Then we've got Lumberjanes, which is a series I read. Yay. It's Eisner and Glad award-winning series. Out of the 5 main girls, 3 are queer, 1 is a trans girl, and the other 2 are in a relationship with each other. So volumes 10, 11, and 12 have come out in the last year, and 13 soon. So this isn't issue numbers, this is like volumes, so each volume has like 4 to 5 issues. So they're on like 50 or 60 right now, somewhere around there. But it's a really good story. It's about these girls going on supernatural adventures at this kind of magical summer camp. And besides the 3 main queer characters, there's also more queer characters in the background, like their camp, camp leader, like the lady who runs the camp. She's got a woman who's her ex that shows up at one point, so there's other characters. The boys' camp, they kind of imply that one of the boys maybe is trans or exploring his gender identity. So it's a good series. It's very cute. Once again, pretty good for kids too. Then we had Twisted Romance, which is a romance, comic, and short story anthology. There were 4 issues, and it was published. The complete anthology was published by Image Comics in September of last year. So there's a variety of relationships and sexual orientations, and just a few here that I pulled from some of my favorite stories. There's asexuality, there's a gay relationship, there's a lesbian relationship, there's possible bisexuality. It's not really explicit, but could be interpreted that way. And my favorite, there is a polyamorous trio of lesbians from one of the short stories, and I love them. Because I remember reading it and I was like, wow, they could just solve their problem if they all just dated each other. And then they did. And I was like, yay! So, and there's all kinds of genres because, you know, queer stories don't have to be like a specific type of genre. There's horror, slice of life, fantasy, sci-fi, all kinds of stuff. Trigger warning though, there is some gore and there is some abuse, which a couple stories, that's actually like a central theme. So maybe kind of be wary of that if that squicks anybody. But yeah, it's good representation of all kinds of relationships. Then content creator feature. So I don't know if any of you know Mira Ong Chua, but she works on a show called OKKO, Let's Be Heroes. Yeah, so you've heard of her, or you've heard of the show, but I don't know exactly what she does, but I know she works on the show. But she's written in the last year quite a few WLW comics. So she did Road Queen, Eternal Road Trip to Love, which is about lesbians fighting over a motorcycle. It is 18 plus, but this one, it was picked up by licensing for 7 Seas, and they're going to be doing an actual like formal release. Like, so it's not just she's printing the books and like selling it herself or selling the PDFs. It's actually going to be like a real legit printed book with like a barcode and everything. And then other titles she's done, she did one called My First Vampire Blood Drive, which is very cute. Then she did Galaxy Ballerina. And upcoming, she has We Dragged Our Manager into a Girl Group, which is going to be a polyamorous one. So, yeah, that should be good.
And video games, as I was saying earlier, you'll love the slide, Soldier 76. I don't have a lot to say on it, I just have adored the memes. So here's a sampling of the memes.
Just... He's gay now. He's gay culture.
Yeah.
He belongs to the gays.
And that's literally our slide on that topic.
Yes. Then, so Sims, for Pride Month, they added Pride stuff. So if you guys, I don't know if any of you play The Sims or follow the news about The Sims, but before you could only pick male or female genders. Now you can, well, a couple years ago they added the option you can kind of customize genders, like can they pee standing up? Can they get pregnant? Can they do all this? You can
select what your sim can do.
So they added, to expand on this, they added Pride clothing, including a sponsored t-shirt from It Gets Better. They added the Rainbow Pride flag plus additional ones, and they added additional options for building with gender-neutral bathroom doors. However, in the initial release of the Pride flags, there were no lesbian flags. And users complained about this, and then one of the devs said, well, I don't see what the big deal is, why do we have to include lesbians? And then people got really pissed. So,
now there are lesbian
He should
ones.
not have said that. So they added 3 of the lesbian flags, which, personally, the devs shouldn't have said that in the first place, but I'm glad they added the flags.
Yeah.
So you can see there's all kinds. There's the ace,
I see my
gay,
ace flag.
pansexual, bisexual, trans, POC gay, like all kinds of stuff, non-binary, intersex. Just great.
Well, the thing is with The Sims, it's run by EA, and EA is run by idiots.
Very true.
Very true.
Very accurate. All the other fun stuff.
So, do we have time for this whole thing?
We do,
Okay.
yes. We are going to, because we have, I think it's like 4 minutes long.
Yeah.
We can do this if we race through everything else. Karina Monta and Joe Johnson, LGBTQ plus I stancers. Karina is bisexual, Joe is gay. On July 1st, the start of Pride Month, sorry, I'm tired. But the start of Pride Month, June 1st rather, they tweeted out this very
campy
campy routine. So enjoy.
Which includes voguing.
Yes. So enjoy it, even if you're not into ice dance, because I force everyone into it.
Yeah, she has a girlfriend, right?
She does.
Joe's single, but Karina does have a girlfriend. They are so cute together. criticized that, oh, how can you portray like a romantic kind of dance when you're not attracted to each other? But obviously, that's not a problem.
Not a problem for them. God, I love this routine.
Just like there's like the build up.
God, I love it. And I love that the whole audience gets into it. Like, you got a stadium of several thousand people like cheering on Queer Eye dancers. It's just beautiful.
Also, Joe Johnson's Twitter. If you can find him, follow him because he's freaking hilarious.
It's amazing.
He's like such a meme lord. It's great.
And it's really important, like in the figure skating community too, because like you would think it would be more open,
right?
But it's not. Like a lot of times, professional figure skaters do have to, or they used to have to remain closeted. Johnny Weir did not come out until years after his professional career had ended. So, and here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. And here we go. Right? A pair of. Oh, here we go.
Yep. Yes.
A pair of pair skaters, which is different from ice dancing.
The Japanese. They did Yuri on Ice, like the song Yuri on Ice.
Yeah.
And then I think Johnny Weir has actually skated to Agape, not the full routine, but part of it.
Yes.
And I know Joe Johnson actually, I don't know about Karina, but Joe Johnson is a fan of Yuri on Ice.
Yes.
Like Yuri on Ice with the queer skating community, or with the queer skaters, they're fans.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. They are no longer competitive figure skaters. They actually got hired now by why am I forgetting the name of it? Cirque du Soleil. So now they'll be figure skating for Cirque du Soleil.
So, another news.
Hey!
The U.S. women's soccer team won the World Championships again, and they're also hella gay.
Woo!
And their captain, Megan Rapinoe, I just pulled this quote from a Chicago Times article, and this is what she said as the tournament began. "You can't win a championship without gays on your team. It's never been done before, ever." Then the gay and out Rapinoe, whose girlfriend is WNBA superstar Sue Bird, added, "That's science right there."
I love
her.
No.
Like, some people are like, oh, she's too cocky. And it's
whatever.
like, she can be. She freaking is the captain of the team that's a 2-time world championship in women's soccer. Like,
Yeah,
like
let her be cocky.
she's allowed to.
Okay.
Yeah. So, some YouTubers came out for Pride 2019. So there's Eugene Lee Yang of the Try Guys, Daniel Howell, who is formerly Dan Is Not on Fire, and Phil Lester, who is Amazing Phil. They all came out in different videos during Pride Month, and they were all very different. Eugene did like this music video where he was doing ballet. Dan did this 45-minute long video where he basically like explained like the entire history of his sexuality, and Phil basically did like a 6-minute video pointing at Dan and going, yeah, what he said. So yeah, so they all came out, which is nice. Good for them.
And Taylor Swift. Oh man, I don't know how much time I have to talk. 5 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
So this is another one where there is two warring sides, and I do have a horse in this race. I am on the pro side, but it's valid. It featured a lot of queer pop cultural icons, and she's very in tune to the queer community. Glad got an increase in donations after the music video aired. The music video, by the way, is called "You Need to Calm Down." It's catchy, it's beautifully done. Like in this picture we have Adam Rippon, another figure skater.
That's Hannah Hart.
Yeah, who has a YouTube show. I don't know who he is.
I don't know who he is. Does anyone know who that is? No? Okay.
But anyway, the list of queer icons in it is huge. So personally, I adored it. But there are some people who have criticized it, like is Taylor Swift using queer people as a fashion statement, comparing internet hate with homophobia, are they equivalent? And then apparently there's some criticism about Katy Perry, which I don't understand.
Some people were like, why did she have to include the thing with Katy Perry? Like, because I guess they were like, oh, it takes away, like I can kind of see that, like it does take away from like kind of the sort of gay pride message, because it doesn't, whatever. But I'm also on the pro side. I think it's good. Like, a lot of people were upset that it wasn't more like, I guess, I don't know if they wanted something depressing, but it's like not every, everything about queer culture has to be focused on the negatives and the depressing part. We can have,
we can
just have like a celebratory, campy, happy song. But yeah.
Okay, we have like 3 minutes or 2 minutes for discussion. Sorry, guys. We went a little long. But yeah, what did we miss? What are you looking forward to? What kind of representation do you want? Memes, jokes, whatever. Yes.
I noticed you completely missed the Arrowverse. I mean, Batwoman's getting her own.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
And she is in the comics a converted lesbian, and I don't think in the show that they're going to shy away from that, because the Arrowverse has a pretty good track record when it comes to representation.
Very, very true. Missed for 2 reasons. Number one, I don't think either one of us follow DC Universe. But I mean, to be fair, I did have a slide about Soldier 76, and I don't play that game. So I mean, take that as you will. And also, it is upcoming, so it might be in our next one.
Yeah.
But her character's already debuted.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
So going back to the first one, neither one of us watch it. So and also we literally have 2 minutes left, so we covered a lot of ground. But good point, and maybe one of us should watch it.
And when it comes to the Arrowverse, at this rate, there's like 1 or 2 representative characters in each show at this point. There's been Curtis Holt in Arrow,
and there was
been Alex Danvers in Supergirl, Captain Singh in The Flash, and Legends of Tomorrow has both Sarah Lance and John Constantine.
Maybe we should find someone who knows DC Universe and have them join our panel someday. Because
if anyone's interested in like helping us do this, we really want to do that. We really want to keep doing this panel like every year.
Because a lot of our content, it comes from what we know and what we see. So we do sometimes, unfortunately, miss big things. So I apologize for that, but good to know, and we will make sure that we look for that next year. Anybody else? Yes.
They're just like, I was just kind of expecting the show that came on there for the TV. It's like an outright show. It's called Pose. It's really great.
Pose. We talked about that last year. Yes. A very good, very broad spectrum on Pose when it comes to representation that doesn't get a lot of attention in a lot of our other shows, which are a lot of times like monosexual white people. So Pose is very good for breaking out of that.
Yeah, because if you guys don't know, like Stonewall was basically started by it was a black trans woman.
Yes.
Who was, I think she was also like a sex worker, and I don't know if she was disabled, but I remember I was reading this thing, like she was a bunch of marginalized things, and they're like,
and yet,
so it's like having a white gay man as the face of like gay revolution, it just, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so very good, and wonderful.
Yeah.
We have like less than a minute. Anybody else?
Yes. Oh, I want to add really quick. I read online last night in the DC, the Young Justice animated series, Aquaman? Aqualad.
Well, Aqualad is now the new Aquaman. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
but
original
he's
vampire, yeah,
he's gay, right?
well, I think
or
it was-
he
was,
kissed
like,
a guy.
by hand, like, basically.
Yeah, but he kissed a guy.
Yeah,
So
kissed a guy. He dropped
that
it.
happened.
Oh, 11 o'clock.
But yep.
And also Halo is non-binary. And you see-
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent.
But yeah. So
Sorry that
Sorry,
we missed
that's it. We
stuff
gotta cut it off.
and that we went really long and didn't have a lot of time for discussion. But thank you guys, and
So-
hopefully we'll see you next year.
with even more queer.